The first time Claire ever decided to buy something off Facebook Marketplace, she thought it was harmless. She was a college student in Ohio, constantly scrolling through listings for cheap furniture to fill her small off-campus apartment. Most of the time, she ignored the oddly low-priced items, assuming they were scams. But one night, she found a full-size bed frame and mattress listed for only $40. The pictures looked clean, the seller seemed polite, and the profile was of a young woman with a smiling family photo. Claire messaged right away, and within minutes she got a cheerful reply, "Of course. Still available. Come by tonight if you want." That night, rain was tapping against her windshield as she drove through a quiet neighborhood to the address the seller had given. The houses were spaced far apart, most of them dark except for a few porch lights. Claire pulled up to the right number, but the driveway was empty, and the house itself looked almost abandoned. Weeds crept up the walkway, and the windows were covered in grime. She double-checked her messages, making sure she was at the right spot. The profile photo had looked so normal, warm, safe, trustworthy. She messaged the seller again, "Hey, I'm here." A reply came almost instantly, "Back door's open. Just come around. We're inside." Claire hesitated. She should have turned the car around then and there. But it was raining harder, and she didn't want to seem rude after driving 20 minutes across town. She grabbed her phone, turned on the flashlight, and made her way around the side of the house. The back door was exactly as promised, wide open, creaking slightly as the wind pushed it. Inside, the air smelled stale, like wet wood and dust. She stepped into a kitchen where the cabinets were rotting, the paint peeling off the walls. No voices, no sound of anyone moving. Claire called out softly, "Hello?" Her voice echoed through the empty space. She thought she heard faint footsteps upstairs, then silence. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from the seller, "We're upstairs. Just come up, second door on the right." Claire's stomach twisted. The more she thought about it, the stranger it seemed. Why would anyone invite a stranger upstairs to pick up a bed frame? Still, curiosity and a stubborn sense of not wanting to back out pushed her forward. She climbed the staircase, each step groaning under her weight. The hall was pitch dark except for the dim glow of her phone light. When she reached the second door on the right, she noticed it was slightly ajar. She pushed it gently, the hinges squealing as it opened. The room inside was completely empty, no bed, no furniture, nothing but bare wooden floors and graffiti on the walls. She turned in confusion, ready to text the seller again, but before she could, the door slammed shut behind her with a force that rattled the frame. Her phone slipped from her hand and clattered onto the floor. In that moment of darkness, she swore she heard breathing, low, heavy, just behind her. Heart pounding, she scrambled to grab her phone, but when the flashlight flickered back on, the room was empty. She tried the door, but it wouldn't budge, as if someone was holding it shut from the other side. Her messages pinged again, one after another, the vibration buzzing in her palm. She glanced at the screen. The seller's account was typing rapidly, messages popping up in sequence, "Stop moving. We see you. Don't scream." Claire's breath came in shallow gasps, her chest tightening. This was no simple transaction. Someone had lured her here, someone who knew she'd be desperate enough for a cheap deal to ignore the warning signs. The footsteps came again, heavier this time, right outside the door. And then, slowly, the handle began to turn. The doorknob rattled slowly at first, then twisted with sudden force. Claire stumbled backward, clutching her phone, her flashlight beam trembling against the walls. She wanted to scream, but fear clenched her throat shut. When the door finally swung open, the hallway outside was empty, no one standing there, no sound but the rain hammering against the roof. Claire froze, waiting, expecting someone to lunge from the shadows. But the silence pressed in heavier than before. She knew she couldn't stay in that room. She bolted past the doorway, her footsteps pounding against the old wooden floorboards. The hall stretched longer than she remembered, twisting slightly, as if the house itself were reshaping around her. She hit the stairs and nearly tripped, catching herself on the railing. Down below, she saw something that made her heart seize. Her phone buzzed again, lighting up with another message. But this one wasn't from the seller's profile. It was from her own number. "Don't leave. We're still waiting." Her blood ran cold. She gripped her phone so tightly her knuckles turned white. How could anyone be texting her from her own number? The only explanation was that whoever lured her here had hacked her account, or worse, had her phone somehow mirrored. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the kitchen. Claire spun, her light darting over the railing. A chair she hadn't noticed before was now lying on its side. She knew she hadn't seen any furniture when she first walked in. Someone was down there with her. Panic surged. She ran down the stairs, ignoring the sharp creaks, and darted for the back door. But when she reached it, the door that had been wide open minutes ago was now bolted shut, boards nailed across it as if someone had secured it while she was upstairs. Her chest tightened, breath coming in ragged gasps. Whoever was playing this game wasn't just inside the house, they were controlling her escape routes. She turned, desperate for another way out, and saw the living room beyond the kitchen. At first glance, it was empty too, but when she swept her light across the far wall, her heart stopped. The wall was covered in dozens of Polaroid photos, taped side by side, all showing different young women standing in the same room she had just been trapped in upstairs. Each woman looked terrified, each photo taken from some hidden angle. And at the very end of the collage, freshly taped, was a new Polaroid, of Claire herself, standing in the doorway of that empty room, seconds before the door had slammed shut. Her stomach lurched. She hadn't seen anyone take that picture. Which meant there was a camera hidden in there, maybe more cameras hidden all around the house. She spun, her light flickering across the ceiling corners, the vents, the cracks between walls. She was being watched. Another buzz. Another message. This time, it came with a photo. She forced herself to look at the screen. It was a live shot of her standing in the living room, phone in hand, flashlight pointing up, taken from directly behind her. Claire whipped around, screaming, but the room was empty. Only shadows shifted with the flicker of her light. Her scream echoed, bouncing through the decayed walls, before falling into dead silence. She knew she couldn't wait. She bolted to the front of the house, yanking at the door handle until her palms burned, but it wouldn't budge. She tried the windows, but they were nailed shut too, some with bars on the outside. It was like a trap, meticulously prepared. Her phone buzzed again. "Don't fight." The others didn't. Shaking, Claire dropped the phone and staggered back. The air felt colder, thicker, like someone was standing just inches from her face. For a second, she thought she saw movement, a figure lingering in the corner of her eye, tall and still. But when she turned, nothing was there. The boards creaked upstairs again, louder this time, heavy footsteps moving across the floor. Then another set joined them. And another. It sounded like multiple people were walking in unison, heading toward the staircase. Claire had no choice. She sprinted for the basement door she spotted near the kitchen, praying it might have a side entrance or storm doors leading out. She yanked it open, the smell of mildew and damp stone rushing out. Without thinking, she ran down into the darkness, pulling the door shut behind her. But as soon as her feet hit the cold cement floor, her phone, still clutched in her shaking hand, lit up again. This time, no text. Just a video file waiting to be played. Her finger trembled as she pressed it. The clip opened with shaky night vision footage, showing her walking down those same basement steps. The video was only seconds old. Someone down here was filming her, right now. Claire's breath came out in sharp bursts, each one visible in the damp, icy air of the basement. She held her phone out, the glow casting a weak circle of light on the crumbling stone walls. The night vision video kept playing, showing her in the exact moment she was standing now, her body frozen like a reflection of itself. Then, the camera angle tilted, panning slowly toward the far corner of the basement. Her phone screen showed it before her own eyes could, a figure standing in the shadows, motionless, head tilted unnaturally to one side. Claire dropped the phone, its light spiraling across the concrete floor, landing face down. Darkness swallowed her. She scrambled to grab it, her fingers brushing cold stone and dirt, heart pounding so hard it echoed in her ears. When she finally flipped the phone back over, the video had stopped. The screen was black except for a single new message: "We're closer now." A noise broke the silence, a dragging sound, like something heavy scraping along the floor above. She tilted her head up, hearing muffled footsteps moving back and forth across the boards. But then, faintly, she heard something else, a whisper. It wasn't coming from upstairs. It was right behind her. She spun, flashlight trembling across the basement walls. Pipes ran along the ceiling, dripping water onto the floor. Old shelves sagged with rotting cardboard boxes. Nothing moved. Yet the whisper came again, softer this time. A single word stretched out like a hiss: "Stay." Claire pressed herself against the wall, trying to steady her breathing. She spotted another door at the far end of the basement, smaller, narrow, with rusted hinges. Hope surged through her chest. Maybe it led outside, to one of those storm cellars she had seen in old houses. She ran for it, stumbling over uneven stone. Her hands gripped the handle and pulled, but the door wouldn't open. She yanked harder until her palm stung, but it was locked tight from the other side. Her phone buzzed again, rattling on the floor where she had dropped it. Claire didn't want to look, but she couldn't stop herself. She picked it up and saw a new photo waiting for her. It showed the basement door she was trying to escape through, taken from just a few feet behind her. She screamed, whirling around, light darting into the shadows. Still nothing. Just cold air pressing down on her, the silence thick with the sense of eyes watching from every corner. Something shifted above. The basement door, the one she had entered from, slowly creaked open. Claire froze. The faint outline of legs appeared at the top of the stairs, silhouetted by the dim light from the kitchen. Then another pair of legs stepped forward beside them. And another. 3 figures now, blocking the only exit. None of them spoke. None of them moved, except for the slow, synchronized way their heads tilted in unison toward her. Claire backed against the locked storm door, her phone slipping in her sweaty palm. She typed a frantic message to her best friend, the only thing she could think to do: "Help me. 317 Latchford. Please." She hit send, praying the signal reached outside these walls. For a moment, nothing happened. The figures remained at the top of the stairs, unmoving, like statues. Then her phone buzzed again with a reply. Relief surged, until she read it. "We know. We're already here." Claire dropped the phone as her stomach twisted with pure terror. The figures began descending the stairs, each step slow, deliberate, the old wood groaning under their weight. She tried the storm door again, pounding her fists against it until her knuckles bled, but it didn't budge. The scraping sound returned, this time coming from inside the basement itself. Claire's flashlight darted toward the shelves, and she saw one of the boxes shift, then slide off completely, spilling its contents across the floor. What tumbled out wasn't papers or junk. It was more Polaroids, hundreds of them, scattering like leaves. Every single one showed terrified faces of women she didn't recognize, all in various parts of this house. And in the middle of the pile was one final photo, a picture of Claire kneeling in this exact basement, her face frozen in terror, surrounded by 3 dark shapes closing in. She didn't remember anyone taking it. She didn't want to know how. The figures were nearly at the bottom step now, their movements too calm, too rehearsed, like actors playing out a scene they had done countless times before. Claire screamed, slamming her shoulder into the storm door again and again. At last, something gave. The rusted hinges snapped, the door cracking open enough for her to squeeze through. Cold night air rushed in, mixing with the rain. She crawled out into the wet grass, cutting her arms and legs on broken wood, gasping for breath like she'd just surfaced from drowning. She scrambled to her feet, sprinting into the night, not daring to look back. Her phone buzzed one last time in her hand. With trembling fingers, she opened the message. It was a live video feed. Against her better judgment, she looked. It showed her, running across the yard, slipping in the mud, hair plastered to her face. The camera was following close behind. Claire's shoes slapped against the mud as she ran, her breath ripping in and out of her lungs. The storm pelted her face with needles of rain, but she didn't slow. All she could hear was the pounding of her heart and the sucking squelch of the ground beneath her. The thought of looking back made her stomach churn, but she couldn't stop herself. There, just at the edge of her vision, shapes moved in the dark. Figures running after her. Not stumbling, not struggling against the rain like she was, but gliding almost effortlessly, like shadows that had learned to take human form. Her phone vibrated again. She ignored it, shoving it into her pocket. She needed to focus on escape. She spotted the faint glow of a street lamp in the distance, beyond the tree line. If she could make it there, maybe someone would see her, maybe a car would pass, maybe, just maybe, she'd survive. Branches clawed at her as she forced her way through the trees, the wet leaves sticking to her skin. Every snap of a twig behind her made her chest tighten. When she stumbled onto a clearing, she nearly cried with relief. The street lamp was closer now, casting a pale orange circle on the asphalt. Civilization. Safety. She sprinted toward it, her lungs burning. Just as her feet hit the cracked pavement, a pair of headlights appeared in the distance. A car was coming. She flailed her arms wildly, screaming for help. The vehicle slowed, then stopped, its beams cutting through the rain. Claire ran to the driver's side window, banging with desperate fists. A middle-aged man inside rolled it down, concern etched across his tired face. "Are you all right? What happened to you? Please." Claire sobbed. "They're after me. They're trying to kill me." The man's expression shifted, hard to read in the dim light. Then he unlocked the passenger door. "Get in, quick. I'll get you to the police." Claire hesitated only a moment before throwing herself inside, slamming the door shut. She looked out the back window, expecting to see dark figures emerging from the trees. But the road was empty. Only rain splashing on the blacktop. Her body trembled as adrenaline began to ebb. "Thank you," she whispered, clutching her phone to her chest. "Thank you so much." The man didn't respond right away. He pulled the car slowly onto the road, the windshield wipers squealing with every pass. After a moment, he spoke, voice calm, too calm. "So. You were at the house?" Claire's head snapped toward him, her blood freezing. His eyes stayed fixed on the road, but the corner of his mouth twitched with something like amusement. How do you know about that house?" she stammered. The man let out a low chuckle, shaking his head. "Because everyone who goes there says the same thing. They're all scared. They all run. They all beg for help." His tone darkened. "And none of them ever get away." Claire's stomach dropped. She gripped the door handle, ready to throw herself out, but the car accelerated, engine roaring as the tires splashed through puddles. The locks clicked down automatically. She pulled at them, but they wouldn't budge. Her phone buzzed again. Hands shaking, she pulled it out and saw a new message. It wasn't from the seller's account this time. It wasn't even from her number. It was from an unknown contact labeled only as driver. The message read, "Don't fight him. Just like the others." Claire screamed, pounding the window with her fists. The man laughed now, openly, the sound echoing inside the car louder than the storm outside. "You're just like them. Always think you're different. Always think you can escape." She twisted, trying to climb into the back seat, but his hand shot out, gripping her wrist with surprising strength. She kicked, clawed, but he yanked her back, eyes wild in the glow of the dashboard lights. Her phone slipped again, landing face up on the seat. The screen lit with another message, this one accompanied by a photo. Claire forced herself to glance at it even as she struggled. Her heart nearly stopped. It was a picture of her, sitting in the passenger seat of this very car, screaming, with the man's hand already gripping her wrist. The photo was time-stamped 1 minute into the future. Claire shrieked, fighting harder, the seatbelt tightening around her as she writhed. The car sped into the dark, headlights carving through sheets of rain. And behind them, in the woods they left behind, more figures stood motionless, watching the vehicle disappear, their heads tilted in unison.